I did not see my wife's true colors until the last time I lost my job. I used to have a senior position in a big company. My job had a lot of perks and paid well. It was such that my wife of 4 years did not have to work. I took care of her. She was a good wife, taking care of the household, myself and my mom. My mom's very old, and I decided that she would stay with me instead of going to the old age home like my siblings wanted her to. I stopped talking to my siblings over the matter. They did not value all that her mom did for us so that we could get to where we are now. Now that she's old, blind, and needs care, they want to lock her away with strangers and just forget about her. I could not let such a thing happen, so I took her to stay with us. Enid and Mom got along as far as I knew, and if they had any issues with each other, I never knew. If my wife told me that there were certain aspects of her life she was unhappy about, I would have done anything to make her feel comfortable. When she quit her job because she hated it, I found no trouble in providing for her. Money wasn't a big deal for me. I used to take care of my loved ones and live a comfortable life. This was why, when I was implicated in cash that had been stolen at work, it was a surprise. The person I worked with was one that was not to be trusted, but since he was the boss's nephew, they made me the scapegoat and fired me. I did not go on my record, and I still got some compensation, but now I had to look for a job. Well, I found a job, but it was a huge downgrade from the one that I previously had. So my wife, who does not like working, told me that she wanted to do some modeling work. She's 32 and still looks very youthful at the time, so I didn't stop her. The choice was hers as long as she was happy. I went to some of her shoots when I had time, and I could see that she was truly happy. With her gone, we hired a nurse to take care of my mom day and night. For months, such a setup worked for us. That was until I saw those cufflinks. I was looking for my tie. Enid was out on a shoot, and I did not want to bother her, so I started searching on my own, and I found a very big box. Thinking that maybe she put my tie in it with all her other stuff, I opened it up, finding mostly her stuff there, but then I came across a set of cufflinks. I could see that they were from a very expensive brand that I couldn't afford. She had no brothers, so why did she have these expensive cufflinks? I was mildly disturbed as to why she would have cufflinks that belonged to a man in her stuff. But I thought there was probably just a reasonable explanation, and she was not really cheating. When she came home, I asked her what's up with the cufflinks, and she immediately starts laughing and told me they were for me. She forgot to give them to me. She told me that she was given them at a shoot. She was told to give her husband or a friend. I felt really dumb for suspecting her like that. But then my mother told me to be careful. She said that my wife thought that just because she's blind she couldn't hear. But my wife had been lying to me about sometimes when she was going to a shoot, since she was using my car most of the time. She thought it looked better with her, and who was I to argue? I decided to track my car. Not once did my wife go near the places where she said she was going. Yet somehow, she still came home with money that she worked. But she did not go to her particular address more times than once. When I searched the address, I found out that it did belong to a photographer. I asked my cousin, who's 20, if she could find out more about the photographer. As soon as she saw the pictures of him, she said that she knew him. She told me that he's a very popular among some of her peers for filming content for them. I could not deal with it anymore. I was losing my mind, going crazy. When my sister told me that kind of content it was, I went sick to my stomach. We had agreed that she would keep her modeling tasteful, so why was she doing this? Had all other shoots just been a front for what she was really doing? As far as I knew, that sort of content had a lot of money to it, but we did not need all that money. Sure, we had to cut down on a few things, but hey, I thought we were happy. I decided to visit the man and tell him to fire her. She'd failed to be transparent to me and did not think about how what she was doing was going to reflect on our family. She could have at least told me this was what she was doing. So I went to see the photographer. I told him about my wife and asked that he should just stop filming her. His name was Raphael, and he had a very impressive studio. His work appeared to be tasteful, but I did not let that fool me. Raphael did not appear fazed by my words at all. He told me that even though he did film that kind of stuff, the only modeling my wife did was hand modeling as well as small campaigns. Then he showed me a portfolio of her work and I just felt so stupid. I apologized for what I accused her of and left. But before leaving, I had a moment of deja vu. I asked Raphael not to tell Enid and he swore. He said he got complaints from husbands all the time, so he got where I was coming from. The man who walked me out was familiar. Something about the studio, or was it him, made me feel like I was living through something again. I shook it off as nothing. 3 days later, my wife was rushing to work and she left her bag in our room. I quickly took it and rushed outside before she could pull out the driveway so that I could give it to her. I managed to reach her in time and give it to her, but when I came back, I stepped on something in the driveway. I picked it up, only to see that it was a positive pregnancy test. I was over the moon. Finally, we were going to have a baby. I ran indoors and told my mother the good news, but told her to hush because she had not officially told me that she was expecting. It was insane. No wonder she'd been having those mood swings and have been ignoring me the past few days. I wanted to make up for how I'd been so suspicious of her, so I got off work late and decided to make dinner for her. I would make very good food if I do say so myself. My mother taught me well. I sent her a message asking her what time she was coming home, but I got an error message. I checked the Wi-Fi connection, but it was stable. Then I saw that her profile picture was blank. I tried to call her, but I was told that she was unavailable. All of her social media was gone, and I was worried. She was in such a fragile state. This was not the first time that she's blocked me. A simple thing could tick her off, and then she would just deactivate her social media accounts until she saw she was okay. On those days, she went to her mother's house to rest. I'm not supposed to disclose her exact condition, but she suffers from a personality disorder. She's kept it managed for years, but some days are not good days. I did what I usually do when this happens, and it's to check if she's arrived at her mom's house. Her mom could at least confirm with me if she was still breathing. In panic mode, I called her mom. Her mom told me that she was okay, but she just needed some time. I was deflated, excited about the earlier news, but feeling empty because she was not here. Maybe she was having second thoughts about a baby, and she did not want me to find out. I went upstairs for the first time that day and I was met with emptiness. She had taken her mirror, her jewelry box. Her closet was empty. There was not even an item of clothing left. I called my mom's nurse, asking if she knew anything, which was when she produced the letter. The letter was from her. It read this: Dear John, I love you, but I can't stay anymore. I feel suffocated. I need to breathe. I don't think this life is the life for me. Don't look for me. Pretend I have ceased to exist. I just can't do this anymore. Goodbye. I told Dee, the nurse, to leave, and then I punched the wall so hard my knuckles started bleeding. She did not leave a trace when she left me, carrying my baby. A few days later, I heard the news that Raphael had fled town and eloped with a woman. That had me thinking about whether the baby was mine or not. The worst part, I'll never know, and I was left here in this house that feels emptier each day. My mother passed away a few months ago, and before she passed, she told me that time would heal me. But it's been 6 months since she's left, ghosted me, and has not contacted me. I still go to work, come back home, and I drink till I pass out. I don't think I have a drinking problem, but I think I am depressed. I have no one left in the world. She's out there, happy. I still don't know what I did for her to cheat on me, and I ask myself those questions every single day. Sometimes I feel that I should not respect her choice, that I should say darn it all and hunt her down like a bounty hunter. I want her to look me in the eyes and tell me it's over, not with some stupid letter. Gosh, I feel so pathetic. I guess the reason I'm even sharing any of this is that so someone, anyone, can know how I'm feeling. I've not opened up to any friends or family, and I fear being seen as weak. So I put up the mask of being unaffected in front of them, and they don't ask any questions. I also need to ask, is there a way, any way, I can move on with life? I feel so tired. I just don't know what to do. Update 2 months later. After sharing what happened with you, I slept easier that night. The next morning, I felt a bit lighter. I started to clean out the house and throw her stuff away for good this time. Within the next week, I went out to play golf with a buddy. I did little things within these 2 months to regain my life. I also started to attend weekly counseling sessions. Those opened my eyes to the fact that maybe I was dealing with a narcissist. I'll not go into detail about the very beginning stages of our relationship, but there was so much that I let her get away with, just red flags, because I didn't want to lose her. It makes me wonder, did my love for her turn into an obsession? I've been doing the most difficult thing that a human can do, and that's to talk to myself in a brutally honest manner. Through that, I've slowly started to let light into my life again. I really believe that I'll be okay one day. When I read through my last post, I realize that I don't feel that anger and sadness anymore when I was writing it. It's slowly fading away. Thank you everybody for the comments and suggestions you've given me on how to move on. I think I can do it. Alright guys, Mr. Reddito here. So, it's been a year. Everyone thought that this was just over with since nobody posted an update to this for a whole 367 days. But oh no! Exactly almost 1 year later, OP says this. It's now a year after my last post. So many good things have happened to me ever since that post. I stopped thinking about her and what she did to me, and soon I was able to get back to living. My work improved and I was able to get a transfer and even a promotion. The area I now stay in is very quiet, small, and cozy, perfect for me and my fiancé. Yes, my marriage to Enid dissolved more than a year ago. I did not lose anything to her, thankfully, and we went on our way. I've not seen her in over a year and a half, but I'm convinced that the child she was carrying was not mine. Why else would she run away with some photographer? Either way, I've forgiven her because I am a decent person, and not because she deserves it. Well, I met my now fiancé when she was involved in an accident on the side of the road. The person who hit her car ran away like a coward, and she was late for a meeting. I memorized the number plate of the car. My memory is excellent, by the way. And then I walked up to her and said it, without even saying hi. She looked at me like I was crazy and was about to start shouting for help. Until I told her it was the number plate of the person who hit her car and ran. She was very thankful to me. I stayed with her as she called the police and got through the formalities. I don't know what made me want to stay there and make sure she was okay. Well, she took me out for coffee afterwards, and the rest is history. I'm just so happy these days. I guess my mom was right. It does heal over time. I just feel so much more youthful and have not resorted to my bad habits in so long. My fiancé and I are expecting a baby soon, and we're planning a small wedding with other families and friends. I love my job, and I've been able to advance further over the past year. The problem comes with the fact that I've been dreaming of Enid, and, well, it's a little unsettling. Sometimes when I'm out, I think that I see a glimpse of her and it scares me. It feels like I'm trying to chase a ghost at times. The dreams about her are not pleasant at all, but I know better than to look for her. She made her decision when she left me out in the cold with her questions. She didn't even send condolences when my mother passed. I've worked so hard for all that I have. I don't want or need her in my life, to be honest. What should I do to make these dreams stop, though? I'm thinking of getting sleeping pills. With sleeping pills, I hardly ever dream. When I spoke to my best friend Peter about it, he told me that, in his belief, dreaming about an ex means that there's something unresolved. But if there's something unresolved, will that mean I have to look for her and find out what it is? I'm happy, I told Peter. I don't need her crashing into my life and burning everything she touches like she usually does. I did not get here easily. Mr. Reddito here. I hope you guys are enjoying this wild story. If you thought it was wild so far, you are not ready for the next part because it's about to take a sharp turn. You know what? I'll just read you the title of this update. She's back, and you'll not believe what she's saying. Well, My last post aged pretty poorly, I'll say. I did not look for her, she found me. Somehow, I've changed my number, job, and address, but somehow she still found me like Inspector Gadget. She sent me a text asking me to meet not even 2 weeks after I started dreaming about her. There was nothing I wanted to say to her, so I blocked her. She called her phone many times, and Claire got very suspicious about what I was getting so many phone calls about. I had to lie to her and say that I accidentally subscribed for a telemarketer to call me. I felt bad when the very next day she got our phone changed because she wanted me to have some peace. Peter told me that maybe I should tell her the full story about what happened and not just summarize versions. Did I listen? No, I don't ever listen to Peter. I should have listened because Enid showed up at my fiance's workplace with a child that she says is mine. I was at work thinking of getting a restraining order against Enid. Well, speak of the devil, and she shall come knocking. Claire called me saying that a woman was claiming to be my wife who came here with a young boy who's supposed to be my son. After all these years, wow, she has perfect timing to ruin my life for a second time, doesn't she? I've mourned her and that child, buried them in my mind, and then they come waltzing back into my life as if nothing's happened. I told Claire that I would talk to her later and then sent a text to Enid, asking her if she's crazy. I told her to stay the heck away from my fiancé, and she said she's been trying to get my attention, but I was ignoring her. Did she think she could just waltz back into my life and I was going to welcome her back with no questions asked? I was shaking. I didn't know the child was mine, and I'm still trying to process all this. Finally, I got the guts to tell her that we can meet up and talk the next day. When I got home, Claire was furious, rightfully so. She asked why I did not tell her that I have a child, and she asked why was I still married to Enid. Well, I'm not married to her. I don't know what she's even on about. I had no choice but to brutally be honest, go into deep detail about what happened, and ask for forgiveness. Well, Claire forgave me, telling me that she was going to be there for me no matter what, and I do not deserve that kind of loyalty. I'm just so lucky to have her. The next morning, I met with Enid. Claire waited in the car while I talked to Enid. Seeing her for the first time since a year and a half ago was definitely a shock to my system. She's changed so much. It's honestly hard to recognize her. She was once full of light, energy, and passion, but the person standing in front of me had aged 10 years. She had the smell of cigarettes on her and had gained quite a few bit of pounds. Next to her was a young boy with big eyes and a scrawny body. I sat down without talking to her and ordered something. Then I greeted her. She just busted out crying out of nowhere and said that she was glad to see that I was well and fared better than she had. After she left me, she continued to model for Raphael until her tummy started poking. She had no choice but to tell him that she was pregnant, but he wanted her to abort the baby. She didn't want to, so he dumped her. Since then, her life went downhill fast and she struggled to take care of the baby. And then she told me that she wanted to have her life back, just me, her, and our son. Excuse me, did I have the word fool written on my forehead in permanent marker? I told her that I moved on and I don't want her back. So then she brought out the big guns. The manipulation tactics such as crying and blaming her mental health for what she did. I knew she thought she still had power over me, that once she had, but not anymore. Being with her was mentally straining and draining. No matter how hard I tried to make her happy, she was never happy. She left me a broken mess, and now she wants to finish me off. I told her that I don't want her back, but we still need to do a DNA test on the boy. Who knows? It could be her trick to get me back into her life and ruin it. The boy just looked so innocent and lost, sad and confused when he looked up at me. I had to look away because I felt horrible. She knew that this would do this to me. How much I wanted a child. I stood up and I could not do this for a second longer. I was bringing back such dark memories in my life. Just sitting there. And then she told me not to dare leave or she would make sure I never got to see my son ever again. I stopped. I could not look at her or anyone. I just felt myself shaking with anger, fear, and just so many other emotions. Then a confronting hand was on my shoulder and I saw that it was Claire. She told me that all was going to be okay. She sat down and asked Enid what she wanted. Enid said she wanted money. Lots of money for child support. Claire said, okay, well, we need a DNA test then to prove that is his son. Enid told her not to get involved because she was just sloppy seconds. Claire told her that at least she truly loved me and did not hurt me once. Too fast for me to even do anything, Enid grabbed Claire and slammed her head on the table. She was about to come over to the other side and finish her off, but I grabbed her. She starts shouting and trying to attack me. I shouted for Claire to call for help. Enid's little stunt earned her some hours in jail for assault. Thank goodness for the security camera. The child was put in foster care in the meantime, but I was able to get a court order so that we could do a DNA test. Well, we're getting the results in a few days, and I do not know how to feel. Claire says that no matter what, she'll still love me and accept the child. I do not know how to feel about this child linking to me and Enid for the rest of my life. I feel that no matter where I go in the world, she'll follow me like a dark rain cloud. I don't love her anymore. I see her for the viper that she is, and I'm scared for my wife and unborn child. She always has so many tricks up her sleeve that she could do whatever she wanted and get away with it. So now I have to plan for the future, just for our safety. Alright guys, Mr. Edito here. I told you that was absolutely crazy update. It's not over yet, we're about to get the DNA results, so I'll go ahead and read them to you like a day show. He is not the father. Here's your update. He's not my son. I did not know how to feel when I found out. It was a confirmation of what I suspected. He probably was the son of Raphael, who had dumped her as soon as he found out she was pregnant. My heart did not feel okay, knowing that she was going to be responsible for that child for the rest of his life. So then, Claire and I went through our charges of assault and stalking. It was not even that hard for the court to decide that she's not to deserve full custody of this child. She's been involved in a lot of shady stuff over the years, and it's catching up on her. The court did a full evaluation of her and felt that she needed to go get some help. Otherwise, she's a danger to herself and society. I felt so sorry for that poor boy. By the way, his name's Bryce. Although I felt that I should have left him alone and forget about him, I felt that this real dad has to at least acknowledge him. My fiancé and I have just sent messages to his father, asking him to see his son. Let us hope that he responds. Next update, a month later. He did not respond for weeks after we sent the message, though we kept in contact with Bryce, making sure that he was in a safe home. I often wonder if she did not run away, I would have raised him as my own, and I would have never met Claire, or she would have eventually left me and run off with a new lover. I've tried to analyze Enid, but to this day, I don't know what she thinks. 7 years ago, that mysteriousness was what made me so attracted to her. I should have read the warning signs of danger, but in a way, that danger led me right to the path of Claire, my wife. Claire and I have just got married and we're waiting until our baby's born before we go off on our honeymoon. I feel that we had a new lease on life, and the past few weeks have been on a honeymoon of itself. But that honeymoon has been clouded by responses from Raphael. It was not at all what I was expecting. I was expecting anger, silence, or even acceptance. Raphael denies having fathered the child. He says that he had a vasectomy when he was 20 years of age. Unless it's some sort of medical miracle, that child cannot be his. I was at a loss for words, wondering who else would father the child. I went through his social media as far back as a year ago. I saw the post where she was present and tried to see which men she was linked to back then. And then I stopped dead in my tracks. For there was a man who looked a bit like Raphael but younger. His account showed that he was Raphael's younger brother. I was now in a frenzy, so close to finding out something. Anything. I did not know what drives me to find the man who fathered the child. Maybe I don't want him to land back in her custody, and I can't take him in. Claire's been through so much, and I simply cannot ask that of her. So, I went through his profile, and nothing was odd. Until boom! Guess what I saw in one of the pictures? Cufflinks! The same brand that she had in her stuff oh so long ago. The one she lied about being gifted and then gave to me. It was him. I could see it in the eyes that looked similar to those of Bryce. I sent him a message and told him that we have to meet. He was close by and drove over as soon as I told him that it had something to do with Enid. As soon as he arrived, he asked, "What has she done now?" As if she's been causing chaos and havoc all these years. I cannot be surprised. Enid is a storm that wrecks everything in its path. I told him everything that happened from the beginning up until this point. We talked for hours as he told me all that she's done. He and his brother did not speak anymore because of her. I was lost for words at some of the stuff that he told me. And then, the reason why he was here, I still had the cufflinks by some miracle. I'd been wanting to throw them away for years, but once they're out of sight, I forgot about them. I showed him the cufflinks and asked him if they've slept together. He said yes. Then I showed him the picture of Bryce, and he did not protest. He simply nodded gravely as if he's accepting it. I was numb at this point. Tired of feeling anger, tired of feeling betrayal and sadness when it comes to her. He thanked me for telling me, and then he left. As far as I know, he managed to get custody of Bryce, and we've not heard from him ever since. I hope this is the last chapter in the saga of Enid. I cannot take any more of all that she does. Well, Mr. Reddito here. That's all she wrote. Except for this. A mini update just a month later that wraps the entire story up. If you enjoyed the saga of Enid, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and here is your final update. Enid's mom just called. She says that she was released today and she wants to see me. I'm not going there. I'm tired. I've made the mistake of being pulled back into her spider web because I want to save her from herself. I have a wife and a child now to take care of, and Enid is simply my past. Her mom has the nerve. She knew what was happening those years ago and let her daughter ghost me. I called her mom day and night in the first few days until her mother herself blocked me. She didn't tell me where she was, just to put me out of her misery. I don't care that she says now Enid's going insane and realizes what she's done. She needs to realize the consequences of her actions. I've already forgiven her. This